Shut up and sit down.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, whatever time you're taking in our show. Thank you for listening. This is No One Asked Us, episode number 34 of No One Asked Us. I'm Craig Choate. That is the Logan Lee. That's where you can find him on Twitter.
The one and only, baby. Except for the fool that has my Instagram handle.
Just like the Ohio State University, the Logan Lee to my right. Yeah, to my right, I guess.
Whatever way is up. I don't even know anymore.
Follow us on Twitter at No One Asked Us Pod. Already mentioned Logan's. Mine is at Craig W. Choate. Also have our Gmail, No One Asked Us 2021 at gmail.com. YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us there. Thank you for listening. For 33 episodes, we are on episode 34 now. Our episodes tend to run long, so if this is your first time listening or taking it in, we do put the chapters in the description. So if you don't want to hear any football talk, you can fast forward all the way to an exact time where we switch topics to baseball, basketball, or entertainment. We talk a lot of movies, TV shows. Towards the end of the show is where those tend to live. So you can fast forward all the way to there. We just thank you for tuning in and hearing what we have to say. Logan, how was your weekend? It is Monday evening, a little before Monday Night Football starts, just to put that on record. Monday evening here. So how was your weekend, the Logan Lee?
Weekend was good. Just did some, productive stuff around here. Didn't go anywhere this weekend, no traveling or anything like that, just kind of hanging out, watching some football. It was and we'll talk about it a little later. I did try to knock out some movies this past week, so that played into my weekend quite a bit. We'll get to that, but yeah, nothing too exciting. Just a weekend of football and trying to do some productive things around the house. How about you?
Did you happen to watch a football game Thursday night?
The football game that you were at?
Yes.
Is that the one you're asking about?
Yes. There's a transition segue here.
I didn't see you on TV. You looked to be a little high.
Yeah.
I don't know that you were going to be visible from the camera angles. I did watch that game a little bit, but not a ton. Yeah.
So Cincinnati's only about hour 30, hour 45 at the most away from Louisville. So me and Christy drove up to Cincinnati Thursday night for Thursday night football. Bengals and Jaguars. I bought the tickets a long time ago, like the week after we moved here in late July, thinking it's Thursday night football, it's Bengals Jaguars, no one's going to be there. So I bought tickets, upper deck, because when no one's at games, no matter what football game you go to, when the crowd is sparse, the empty spots of the stadiums are the corners of the upper decks. So that's where I bought tickets, thinking even we were 3 rows into the upper deck, even if that area, the lower area of that deck is full, we can just move to the top. So probably left a little late. We didn't get to Cincinnati until 7:30. It was an 8:20 kick. Didn't get to Cincinnati until 7:30. Of course, traffic is insane. Got to the park, got into and found a parking garage at 7:45. And we're walking to the stadium and there's just waves of people. I'm like, oh no, just like a mass of people. Lines to get in were insane. We walked in, we got in the gate and we could see the opening kickoff on the big screen. So we weren't even to our seats yet for the opening kick, but we could see it on the big screen as we walked in. We get up to our seats. It's like a frat party. It was legit frat party. There was like 20 college guys around us and like 10 college age girls around us, and then a couple of dad and sons, and like it was packed. For the first time since COVID, I was sitting next to people that I didn't know, and I was a little worried, and I'm still a little worried because that was only 3 or 4 days ago. But yeah, first time since COVID that I was like, okay, I need to take care of myself here for the next couple days and watch out what's going on. Come to find out, one of the girls starts talking to Christy. They gave away $10 tickets to the University of Cincinnati students.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was like ESPN does their whole like attendance and percent full. It was like 93% full. So not a sellout, but there was literally like nowhere we could move. Like we were in our seats. Every seat around us was taken. Every seat above us was taken. So yeah, it was fun. It felt good to be back in that environment in the moment, but back in my head, there's were those questions like, okay, what's going to happen here in 4 days to 14 days? Is something going to happen here? But it was fun. We, with like 3 minutes left, we went down from our seats to that little patio area where we entered, and we watched the Bengals final drive from there. And when they threw that pass with like 20 seconds left to get to the 20, I was like, okay, let's go. They're going to kick a field goal. They're going to win it. Let's get out of here before everyone else does. And we were in our car leaving the garage, and I saw the mass of people coming. So we timed it perfectly. It was a good night. Glad I went. First NFL game since the Rams, probably 2013, I went to a Rams game. So yeah, it was fun. It was good. Saturday had a wedding back in Pinckneyville, reception, quick trip over there and back Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, Thursday was my night for entertainment. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, that's a nice stadium. I've sat in a few different parts of that stadium. So the year that Cameron's one real season in the NFL. So he played with the Bengals during the preseason. So I went over there to watch essentially like a scrimmage. They had, like I don't know, it wasn't an exhibition game. It was a scrimmage during the summertime. And we sat pretty close to the field. Actually, we're able to go down onto the field like afterwards. So that was pretty cool. But then when he actually was playing, when he was with the Bears, his first game where he was not on the practice roster, he wasn't active, so he didn't dress, but he was on the roster. He was on the sidelines in his, street closers jacket or whatever. So a bunch of us went over there, and because he had such a large group of people coming, most of the tickets they were able to get were super high. Yeah. Like we were pretty high up, and this was also December. It's snowing. It's freezing outside. So a bunch of us were sitting up pretty high. Well, then some of the group managed to get tickets down in one of the end zones a little closer. So at some point during the game, most of us made our way to that end zone. But that was definitely a time. I drove over that night during it was essentially, it wasn't a snowstorm, but it was coming down pretty good. Yeah. That's a nice stadium. I wasn't sure a little bit.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I wasn't sure what to expect from it because it looks very basic and plain.
It is
from the exteriors and pictures and watching games. And yeah, it is. But it was nice. Like there was not like I don't know if it's because I've been to Memorial Stadium so much this fall, but like it was nice. The concessions area was nice. The food we got was pretty good. It was nice and clean. What I thought and where I got the tickets and why I got the tickets there was we were on the southwest end zone. So if you're looking at the field, above it was the skyline, but then that south end is open. So if you look to the right, you could see the river, but it was dark by the time kickoff happened. So you couldn't see the river and you could see some lights of the buildings, but like where we sat would be good during the day game. The one thing that I pointed out to Christy early in the game, and the first thing I noticed watching the game wasn't anything that happened in the playing field in between the boundaries. It was how empty the sidelines look of NFL games. Cause I'm used to watching college games where you've got 90 players plus 25 coaches. There's just no room to move. Whereas when you watch an NFL game, there's only 53 players and 15 coaches. It just looks so empty down there.
Yeah.
And she looked at it. She's like, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. That's the way my brain works. Like I look and find weird shit, but I was like, it looks so empty on the field.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, they do carry a lot less of a roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely makes sense. How
Yeah,
many
maybe
how many NFL stadiums have you been to? Is that just 2 now?
Well, I've been to Soldier, not for a Bears
Okay.
game. I
Okay.
went to when Illinois played Northwestern there
Gotcha.
in 2016. And then Edward Jones Dome, and this. So I think that's I think it's only 3.
Okay. I mean, I think my number's only at 4, but
I don't think I ever made it to Lucas Oil. No, I did not. I never made it to Lucas Oil. Yeah, I think it's only 3.
Yeah. Football stadiums, at least the ones I've been to, they're either super traditional or they are the new indoor modern cathedrals. I mean, there's really, again, I've only been to about 3 or 4 of them, so it's not like I have a lot to go off of, but just from what I know, that's basically what you have. And we'll talk about this with the Bear stuff later on with the whole Arlington Heights thing, but you have, as I said, like the old traditional style of, just like Soldier Field, older stadiums that are all outdoors and there's just not a lot going on. And then you have these new state-of-the-art indoor outdoor mixed use facility places like Lucas Oil, like Ford Field, Detroit, that I've been to, like Minnesota and Arizona, like all this, like a bunch of them are like that anymore, but there's still a few, a handful of them out there that are still just kind of like that old traditional style, and there's just not a lot going on in those stadiums. But I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, good time. We'll talk more stadiums here in a little bit. Maybe I should have just stayed there and hung out with Urban Meyer the next couple of nights, but might be regretting that decision a little bit. But
is that your moment of the week?
it very well it could. It was on my list. If you haven't seen what's happening with Urban Meyer, he had some fun in Cincinnati after the loss, while his wife was babysitting the grandkids. So
yeah,
yikes. Let's get to
rough.
what we got here. College football, like always, we'll spend probably a good chunk of time on, although probably not as much as we previously had been. Men's basketball practice started for Illinois, so we'll touch on our excitement level. Logan has been begging to talk about that for weeks and weeks and weeks. Then we'll get into some professional sports. Big football game last night in the NFL. We just touched on the Bears potential move to Arlington. And then baseball real quick, and then our entertainment section. So that's kind of what's on the docket to get you prepared for listening. But as we normally do, Logan just mentioned it. We're going to start with our moment of the week. Logan, what is your moment of the week?
This isn't really a moment of the week. It's just, kind of one of those things that I at least want to bring up and shout out. 50th anniversary, Walt Disney World. My favorite place on the planet. Celebrating 50 years. It's going to be like a 1.5 year long celebration. It's not exactly like, it was just a one day and it's done thing, but that kicked off this week. So there's, a bunch of, plus they dropped a bunch of just other random news things. So they just had a lot going on down there in the state of Florida, which of course is a giant, hotbed for viruses and everything else. But, the park itself is flourishing during the times. But 50th anniversary Walt Disney World. I don't know when I'll get down there again, but hey man, it's a long time of making the people happy. Again, it's not really a moment. It was just something that came up this week that
I like it.
I don't know. I'm sure there's other things too, but this is where we're at right now.
Probably the coolest thing I saw this week was what is it, 3 days ago? I think it's the 1st. Yeah. October 1st is the 1 year anniversary of Ron Rivera beating cancer.
Yeah.
And in the I almost just said their former name. And Washington football team meeting that day, the players surprised Rivera with a video message. I think it had like 5 to 10 of the players just talking about how much he means to them and how much his battle has inspired them. And they wear a sticker on their helmet with Rivera Strong and all that stuff. And then they pooled together money and donated to the fund, or to a cancer fund that he's associated with. I just thought that was really cool because, I mean, it showed Rivera, and of course he was emotional because he's been through so much. Speaking of, he's one of my favorite football coaches. I think the Panthers are going to regret getting rid of him. I think he is amazing. And this only adds to it. But he got emotional, and you don't really see that from football coaches often. Normally they're the tough, like, I can deal with anything. But his story is obviously different. So I thought it was really cool of the Washington players to kind of, I don't want to say get ahead of it, but to do that for him, because I don't know that a lot of people think of professional athletes like that, like they would do something like that. So it's on my Twitter. I quote tweeted it on whatever day that was, Friday, I think, with the video. It's not a long video, just a couple of minutes, but really cool for them to do that for Rivera.
That was a really cool video. I saw when you tweeted that, and as you said, they were really cool for them to do, and just shows how much respect they have for him and everything else. So I agree, that was pretty cool.
He was kind of ahead of his time. Riverboat Ron, although going forward on 4th and short and situations that people hadn't in the past. And now you're seeing that more and more often of football teams not located in Central Illinois. But he's doing good. And I think he's got Washington on the right track. Quickly, while we're talking about them, because I don't know how much we talk about them, what is their name going to be next year? have you seen the options?
I haven't seen them lately. Have they
favorite,
somebody published like an actual list they're working off of, or is this speculation?
There have been reports that they had it to narrow down to 8, and then someone else said it was narrowed down to 5, and then someone else said 3. So there's some out there. I like the Washington Armada, because I like that our nation's capital, they have the Washington Capitals, they have the Washington Nationals. Like, I like the fact that it could be something associated with our country, and Armada would be cool. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. Just quick nugget there. I love nicknames and uniforms.
I like that. So I like Armada.
Getting into the bulk of our show here, Illinois does get back in the win column on Saturday. They beat Charlotte 24-14. They hold Charlotte scoreless in the second half. Was it 14-10 at halftime? I think it was 14-10 at halftime.
I think so.
And they score 14. Charlotte scores nothing in the second half. So back in the win column, Illini now 2-4. Obviously a non-conference win for Illinois here, because they had that early Big Ten game against Nebraska. 2-4 now. I guess the first question, as is lately of us, did you watch the game?
I was watching. I had the end of it on, the last quarter and a half on, while I was also watching Notre Dame and Cincinnati.
Okay, good choice.
So I had two games on at the time.
Yeah.
I did not watch the first half. I was not at home during the first half, but I'm just, it's not that I don't want to watch or don't care to watch or anything like that. It's just, I'm just not going to plan my day around it right now. I'm just not going to do that. Basketball will be a different story. Yeah. And had this season maybe gone differently to this point, it might be different, but it's just not appointment viewing for me at the moment. If I'm home when they're playing, I'm going to turn it on. But so in this case, yes, I did catch the most of the second half, I would say. Well, that's the answer to your question. Did you?
Logan, I'm 31 years old, and I did something for the first time my entire life on Saturday.
What did you do, Craig?
It's what I didn't do. I didn't tweet once during the game. I made it an entire Illinois sporting event.
I didn't even realize that.
Tweeting, because I turned it on. I told you I went back for a wedding on Saturday, back to Pinckneyville. I turned it on. I was like, okay, I'm gonna leave Louisville at halftime to go to Pinckneyville. So I turned it on, and I turned it off. I think it was shortly after the second quarter started. I'm pretty sure it was McCray's fumble. I think he fumbled, but I turned it off before the first half was even done. I was like, okay, I don't want to watch this. I would rather watch Michigan, Wisconsin. For the first time, I chose to watch other games as opposed to Illinois. First time in my entire life. And I didn't tweet. I was like, I don't care enough anymore. I don't have it in me. Who cares? This team's not good. So, but what I do like, I did leave at halftime, and I did find it on Sirius radio. So I listened to most of the second half, Brian and Martin on the radio, while keeping up with other scores and stuff. And I was kind of doing the TV flipping, but on radio. It was first time I'd done that. I don't listen to much games on radio anymore. But what I do like is after the game, reporters were asking Bielema questions and all that. And he was like, guys, we beat Charlotte. Like, this isn't a Big Ten team. And I love that. I love that because other coaches, Lovey, and I guess Lovey's really the only coach I dealt with, they were like, we're happy to get any win we can. I'm like, that's okay. That's cool. But I love Bielema's approach that he's like, I didn't come here to beat Charlotte. I came here to beat Iowa and Wisconsin and Northwestern. So I just wanted to get that out there, that I love Bielema's approach to the postgame.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but that's the way it should be.
Yes.
As you said, a win is a win regardless of who you play.
To an extent.
You should be beating teams like Charlotte, but you should also be beating teams like UTSA, and you should also be beating teams like Northwestern and some of these other schools. I do, this isn't necessarily time to evaluate the program or anything. I mean, I certainly do think, Bielema will have it more on the right track as we get a little further down the road. Yeah. So at this point, sure, a win is a win. And they now have, two wins. So
2 wins.
That's great. You need more than that though. So
yes,
take what you can get, I guess. But yeah, gotta focus on what's ahead. So he's clearly going to be more focused on getting a win this weekend.
Yes.
Probably more so than any other game this season.
Yeah.
He won't admit to that. But yeah.
You just mentioned UTSA. They are getting votes in the polls now. They're 5-0. They're going to be ranked. They're going to be ranked by the end of the year pretty soon. They very well could finish the year undefeated and get a pretty decent bowl. So that loss isn't as bad as people thought it was at the time. And most media members said, this is going to be a close game. So that loss isn't going to look as bad. But as for the game, Chase Brown, holy crap. Oh my gosh. Running back for the Illini, Chase Brown ran for 257 yards. The fourth.
That makes me tired just thinking about
it. The fourth most in a single game in Illini history. He ripped off an 80-yard run. I think it was the third quarter, maybe the fourth quarter. I think that was his second touchdown of the day. That's the 10th longest run in Illinois history. Won him Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week honors. Also, I just saw Illini Football retweeted it or tweeted it out. It got someone gave him the helmet sticker. ESPN does their helmet stickers every week. So ESPN gave him a helmet sticker this morning or last night. Who was that? Joey Galloway. Joey Galloway gave Chase Brown a helmet sticker. I've liked that kid since he got to campus. I like him and his brother both, his twin brother, Sydney. Sydney started here. Chase went to Western Michigan, then transferred in. So they spent a year apart. But I love those two, and I love what Chase has brought since he got here. When he got here, I did a story with them both, interviewed them both. And I said, someone at the time had number 30 on offense. I was like, you guys play offense and defense. Why aren't you guys wearing the same number? Or no, I told Sydney
that just
who plays
sounds
defense.
Confusing.
Yeah, whatever it was. I don't know what it was, but I was like, they're identical twins. If you look at them and you don't know them, even if you know them, they are identical. They look exactly the same, except one of them sometimes has a little facial hair. Not a whole lot, but sometimes they have facial hair. So between Brown and McCray, man, Brown's got a couple years left. McCray's obviously only a freshman, but the running back group, as with any Brett Bielema team, is looking really, really good.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can get other things rolling, besides just that,
Yep.
I think they can be dangerous. But
Yep.
we obviously haven't really seen that yet, and I don't know that we will see that this year. But yeah, I mean that duo is going to be tough to stop here for another couple years at least.
So I was thinking about this Saturday while I was on the road. Illinois has good running backs, got a good offensive line. The defense is playing well. The problem is the most important position on the field is awful. The quarterback. Again, Brandon Peters, trying to pull up the stats here. I should have had him pulled
10
up.
10 for 19, 78 yards, 1 touchdown.
78 yards passing.
52.5 quarterback rating.
That's not going to win any Big Ten games. 58 yards passing. What the heck is that? Now, I mean, you can only do so much when one running back's running for 257 yards. So, You're not going to throw the ball a lot when the run game's working. But, oh, my gosh, you got to get some production from the quarterback at some point. That's all I'm going to say.
It's been a little rough. I mean, Illinois isn't known for having great quarterback play. But there have certainly been some names come through the system the last decade or so that are at least played at a respectable level. But they got to get more going there. I mean, that's got to be a focus in recruiting, and whether it's transfer portal or whatever going forward, because, as you said, if the rest of the team is clicking and that's your issue, you're not going to win football games. You're just not. You're going to need more than that. And they don't have it right now.
So the Illini moved to 2-4. They are still, 1-2 in the Big Ten? I believe 1-2 in the Big Ten.
But they do have a Big Ten win.
They do have a Big Ten win, and the team that they are playing this week does not. The Wisconsin Badgers come to Memorial Stadium once again for a 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern kick on Big Ten Network. Wisconsin is 1-3, 0-1 in the Big Ten. Illinois 2-4, 1-2 in the Big Ten. We all remember the last meeting in Champaign, 2019. The Illini upset number 6, Wisconsin, 24-23. James McCourt, game-winning field goal. And then everyone stormed the Memorial Stadium field, including yours truly, the coolest moment of my sports media career. It was awesome. It was so cool. That line, of course, closed at 30.5, and Illinois picked up the win. Biggest upset that season. I think one of the top 10 or 15 upsets according to Game Line in college football history, I think. So, of course, and again, Bielema revenge game. Would you call it a revenge game? Because he wasn't fired. He left on his own.
I'm not sure that I would call it that. It's not that. Yeah, as you said, he wasn't fired. He left there to take a better job. So
yeah,
I mean, it's still obviously something that he probably
is Arkansas a better job,
at least at the time. It probably was. It's the SEC.
I don't know. I think I'd rather have the Wisconsin job than the Arkansas job.
I mean, I think you can probably make that argument, but I think for a lot of people, getting to the SEC is, I mean, I would say Arkansas is probably a better job than Wisconsin, personally.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure you can argue it both ways, but I'm not saying that jumping from Wisconsin to Vanderbilt would be,
oh my gosh,
moving up. But I think there's an argument for Wisconsin to Arkansas as move up.
We think we have it bad as Illinois fans. Vandy and UConn this week. Could you imagine watching that game? Those are two of the worst programs in football history. Yikes. I think Vandy won on a game winner by 2 at the buzzer, I think. But we can always be thankful we are not Vandy or UConn football fans.
Amen.
Continue. I don't know what you were saying. So I just have Bielema's stats at Wisconsin pulled up here. 68-24 record overall, 37-19 in the Big Ten. He spent 7 seasons at Wisconsin. He went to 7 bowls. 3 of them were Rose Bowls in his final 3 years, 2010, 2011, and 2012. He did not coach the 2012 Rose Bowl because he had already accepted the Arkansas job. So he did not coach Wisconsin in the 2012 Rose Bowl. They lost that one. he has a 2-5 record. He has a 2-5 bowl record at Arkansas. He did. I don't know how he did in bowls or at Wisconsin. He did. I don't know how he did in bowls at Arkansas. He was the Big Ten Coach of the Year in 2006. Is it too big of a storyline? Is it going to be distracting?
I don't think so.
No.
Too big for who? For Wisconsin? For
Illinois?
Illinois?
I feel like Wisconsin doesn't care.
I don't think Illinois cares either.
Really? Okay.
I think it's been several years since he's been there. None of these players have any sort of connection to his tenure there.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure they'll hear about it, and I'm sure they are aware of it, but I wouldn't think it's a distraction. I don't think it's, I mean, Illinois it's not like they're the favorite. I mean, no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, I think it's certainly a game that they're going to try to win, but I don't know that it's necessarily more meaningful to any of the players than any other game. The bigger distraction might be what happened 2 years ago. I mean, I think that's probably the bigger story to the players, at least, than the Bielema thing, personally.
Very true.
But I don't know. I mean, I would say no. I mean, I wouldn't really think so. I think it's probably the outcome a couple years ago more so than that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that came out of nowhere. 2 years ago. I remember it was an early game. It was homecoming. It was the 11 o'clock Central game. I was obviously anchoring. I think Brett took the day off and Marley went and covered something else. So I did the game by myself because we were like, all right, it's going to be a 40-point game. Just go shoot the highlights, do a stand-up, or not, don't do a stand-up, like get the post-game sound, and we just won't do like our post-game recap package. We'll just do sound bites, like a minute of sound bites and all that. It's not going to be a big deal because they're going to get crushed. And then they pulled that off out of absolutely nowhere. So we'll see. The line opened. Have you looked at it yet?
No.
Have you seen the line? Take a guess at what the line opened at. I know you're not a big gambler, but
I'd say probably at least 2 touchdowns.
The line opened at Wisconsin -8.
Really? I mean, I get it. I know Wisconsin has struggled this year, but
it has moved.
That seems what's it now?
But it hasn't
moved closer
moved
because Mertz is questionable. Mertz is questionable.
Mertz is questionable. It is now Wisconsin -10. But it's not 2 touchdowns, like you said. Mertz is questionable. I have not seen anything about Mertz, and obviously we're recording this on a Monday, so we're not going to know for days what his status is. But he left the game against Michigan on Saturday injured. So I just don't think Wisconsin's very good.
I don't either, and I don't want to get too far into a future conversation we're going to have on this show shortly, but as much as I don't think they're all that great, it's not like they've had a lot of chances to get wins.
Yeah.
They've played some
Penn State, Wisconsin,
darn good teams
Michigan
to this point in the season. So
yeah.
I would still say it's probably a 2 touchdown game.
Yeah.
But it's certainly possible. I mean, I think 10 is more reasonable than 8. I would say that.
Wisconsin lost.
10 wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. I should have jumped on the -8 yesterday on my drive home because I can't bet when I cross the Ohio, I can't bet in Kentucky. I should have jumped on it while I was driving. Wisconsin lost to Penn State week 1, 16-10. They beat Eastern Michigan 34-7. Then they lost to Notre Dame 41-13 and lost to Michigan last week 38-17. So 3 of their losses are to top 10 teams. Well, I guess Notre Dame just fell out, but Michigan just jumped in. So yeah, tough schedule. We'll talk more about that game coming up. I don't think there's anything else that I had written down. No, I think that's it. So we'll give our picks here in a little bit, but yeah, should be a good one. Sold my tickets, so I'm not going to be at this one. I'm actually going to go to the Louisville game this week, which
yeah,
which is at the same time. Kind of sucks. I kind of wish Illinois was the noon game, but they're both 3:00 starts. So won't be able to see this one live either. I'll have to follow this one on my phone while the game is going on while I'm at another game. So recapping last week, other Big Ten scores. Did you watch the Friday night game by chance? Iowa,
No.
Maryland.
Was that? Yeah, no, I didn't.
Iowa intercepted Maryland, I think 6 times. They beat Maryland 51-14. Saturday action, Michigan State 48-31 over Western Kentucky. Minnesota squeaks by Purdue 20-13. Nebraska just throttles Northwestern 56-7. Ohio State, absolutely no trouble with Rutgers. Penn State shuts out Indiana 24-0. And then Michigan beats Wisconsin, like I just said, by 21-38-17. Anything shock you there?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Not in that slate for sure. I mean, I think
we got a couple wrong, or I think we only got one wrong there. I think we both had
in
Purdue.
The Big Ten.
Yeah, we both had Purdue.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
I think that'd
be the only one though, right?
Yeah, I think that's all we got wrong.
Yeah,
maybe I might have miscalculated.
That was a boring slate of games. The upcoming slate is a lot more exciting.
Yep, every game that we're picking. Every game we're picking this week has a ranked team, I think, except for maybe one. You ready for your rankings?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to talk about this.
Okay. Anything move at the bottom? Did anything change at the bottom for you?
Hang on, let me get it pulled up. I did switch my bottom two, but my bottom two have been reversed from what you have.
Yeah, so they're the same as me now.
They're the same as you, yes.
Okay.
So they did change. So Illinois, I moved Illinois up, and I moved Northwestern down.
Yep.
Also, I'm realizing that I screwed up somewhere because I have an extra school in here it's not supposed to be. Because that's really going to throw me off when I start doing this. What in the world did I do? What did Minnesota do last week? Did they win?
They beat Purdue by 7.
I feel like that's the right spot for them. Okay. All right. Moving on.
We've got a visit.
So no, those two switched. And then my 12 and 11 stayed put.
Okay.
So Illinois or Northwestern 14, Illinois 13, Rutgers 12, and Purdue 11. Oh, hey.
we have visitors. If you're not watching the YouTube, you need to watch the YouTube.
You have some friends.
They're fighting. Okay.
We interrupt this regularly scheduled broadcast to bring you
special guest stars. Yeah. Okay. This is good radio here. Good TV radio, whatever it is. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll be right back after this short break. And we're back after a quick hiatus. I completely forgot where we were. I know that we both have given our 14 and 13, so I'm just going to ask you to continue.
Okay. Yes. So I said that my 14 and 13 switched. So Northwestern's 14, Illinois 13, and then I left my 12 and 11 the same. I have Rutgers at 12 and Purdue at 11.
Okay. I switched my 12 and 11 to Indiana 12, Purdue 11. Indiana got shut out at Penn State. Purdue lost to Minnesota, but for some reason I dropped Indiana and moved Purdue up 1 to number 11. Your top 10, who you got at 10?
I have Indiana at 10. They moved down 2 spots for me. But I didn't have them dipping quite as far as you. But I have them at 10.
Okay. Rutgers, I had at 8 last week. I dropped them to 10 this week. Tough opponent in Ohio State on the road. Or no, it was Rutgers at home. Rutgers was home. But they just didn't compete like they did the week prior at Michigan. So 8 might have been a little high. So I dropped them back down to number 10.
Yeah.
Number 9.
So my 8 through 10 was the hardest thing for me to figure out.
Yeah.
Based on, I have 2 teams here that I don't think are very good, but they at least have a couple of wins. And I have another team in here who I think is better than what we've seen. But as we've talked about already, they have 3 losses against ranked teams. So I wasn't totally sure where to put Wisconsin right this week, but I settled with them at 9.
Wow.
It's a long drop from where they started this season.
Wow.
But I have them moving down 3 spots to number 9. I could have certainly made a case for them at 8, and I considered it, but in the end, because Minnesota does have a couple more wins on their plate already,
yeah,
I took them ahead of them. So I have Wisconsin at 9 and Minnesota at 8.
Wow, that's a lot lower than I thought. I've got Minnesota at 8. They move up 1 spot after beating Purdue. I just can't figure that team out.
Yeah,
they lose to Bowling Green, and then they come back and win a Big Ten road game. Like I don't know what's going on in Minneapolis. You gave your number 8. That was Minnesota, right?
Correct.
Yeah. I dropped Maryland only 1 spot to number 8 after their absolute blowout loss to Iowa. That Maryland's not very good, and I think they lost their leading receiver for the season. He had a pretty gruesome. One of the nastier leg injuries I've seen on Friday night. He had, so that could knock them out. Who you got at 7?
I have Maryland at
Maryland.
7.
Yeah.
They did not move. I had other teams move around them. And I certainly I think there's a case to be made 7 through 10. I think a lot of these teams could fluctuate even 6 through 10 for me on my list. But I kept Maryland at 7.
Okay. That's where I dropped Wisconsin to. I only dropped them 1 spot. Another team that they've played a really tough schedule. So I don't think they're as bad as their record shows, but it's kind of surprising to me because I moved Nebraska up 3 spots again this week. They're number 6 for me.
They are number 6 for me as well.
Like
this is
preseason, would you have ever
from where? No.
Would you have ever guessed, or after week 0, would you have ever guessed Nebraska was ahead of Wisconsin?
No.
Like, holy cow.
I wouldn't. I mean, as far up as I moved Nebraska and as far down as I moved Wisconsin at this point, no, I would not have seen that coming. And I don't think that this is the order they will finish in. No. I mean, I want to be clear with that right now. I think Wisconsin will finish higher than Nebraska by the end of the season. But as of right now, that's where I have them. Yeah, I have them moving up 3 spots as well to number 6.
Anything in your top 5 change?
My top 5 did not change.
Mine did not.
I thought about it. I really thought about it because I still have Iowa sitting at 3. And they're are they the highest ranked of the Big Ten teams in terms of the polls?
I believe so.
So
yes,
I mean, there's certainly a case to be made for Iowa to be in a different spot than what I have them in. And we're gonna find out a lot this weekend. I mean, this is the big game with them in Penn State. Iowa does not play Ohio State this year, so this is their one last real chance to show this committee that's going to be voting on this stuff that they deserve it. So
do they play Michigan?
It's a great question. I don't have that up and running. I mean, obviously they'll have the Big Ten championship game if they get to that point, but
I got it right here. They do not.
So this is the only other. Do they have Michigan State?
Nope.
So I mean, this is
after
their last...
Saturday. After Saturday, Iowa has Purdue. That's at home, at Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Minnesota, Illinois, and at Nebraska.
Yikes. So yeah, I still have Iowa at 3. So I have Michigan State at 5, Michigan 4, Iowa 3, Ohio State 2, and Penn State 1.
Okay. Same as last week. I've got Michigan State 5, Michigan 4, Penn State 3, Iowa 2, Ohio State 1.
Yeah.
Man, I almost didn't change anything this week. I will tell you that. I almost didn't change anything. But I was like, Nebraska probably needs to move up after that win. But other than that, I could have left everything the same and been fine with it. So
yeah, I changed about half of mine, I think, almost.
Yeah. We're adding something new this week. Logan's suggestion. He texted me the other night, Saturday, said he had an idea. And he sent me a picture of the spreadsheet, and it's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. So I don't know how to kind of quantify this or what to call it, I just wrote down college football playoff tiers.
Yeah.
Basically, who is still alive for the 4 spots in the college football playoff? So obviously Illinois is out of there. Wisconsin's out of there. Northwestern's out of there. So what schools still have a chance to make the playoff? Yeah. I did not do much research, so I'm going to let Logan kind of take control of this. And I don't know how you want to do it, if you want to do it by conference or what you want to do. I'm just going to kind of let you go.
Okay. So, I mean, let me just preface this by saying this was just an idea that I thought of on a whim, and this is still very much a work in progress. This may or may not see the light of day past this show we're doing right here. I have no idea, but it was just something I thought about sitting there watching football on Saturday. As you said, we will start getting the playoff rankings. We'll see who their top 6 are. We see all that stuff. And in all reality, we know that there's only about 8 teams that are really in the mix for a playoff spot. But I was just genuinely curious to see a list of who all is actually mathematically eliminated and who is still technically, even though it's not likely, that they are still in the mix. And honestly, this really comes down to what conference you play in and how many losses you have. That's really all the math I've done to this point. What I did is I essentially divided them up into 4 categories right now. Now, I think there's a 5th category in there that I still need to figure out how exactly to get, because this isn't something I want to I wasn't trying to look ahead to everybody's schedule, figure out who they have left on their schedule, that type of stuff. This is solely based on what you've done so far. So as I said, my 4 categories that I've sorted these into right now are the front runners, the teams, the 8 to 10 teams that are legitimately in the mix for a spot. The category that I'm calling not done yet, meaning they're probably a Power 5 school that just haven't lost enough games yet to mathematically eliminate themselves. These are teams like Michigan State, like Kentucky, like NC State. These teams aren't likely going to be playing. Michigan might, I guess, but these mostly aren't teams that are likely going to be playing. But they play in a power conference school that's going to get a team in, likely to get a team in. And as long as you don't have more than 1 loss, you're probably still in the mix to this point. So that's that category. So the 3rd tier I have is what I'm calling on thin ice. These aren't teams that are going to be playing the playoff, but they're still in a conference that, could potentially get this amount of teams in. It's not likely. Most of these are, like a 1-loss team or something like that. So I have that category as well. And then I have the teams that are just flat out. They've lost too many games to this point. They're just not getting in. So I was just curious. As I said, I just wanted to visualize this and just see what it would look like. Since then, I've also added where they sit in the top 25 poll, the AP poll, because the other, the football playoff ranking hasn't been released yet. Mm-hmm. And then there's a guy on The Athletic that I saw today that has his own calculation of playoff odds. So I factored that into just to kind of see what those numbers look like. But so at this point, I mean, I'm considering the front runners to be Alabama, Georgia, Iowa, Penn State, Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and Ohio State. I mean, I think those are the 7 teams most likely to get in. I mean, I think they're still, I think at this point, Oregon's probably done now that they lost to Stanford. Michigan, I guess, could still be in the mix, but they're going to have a lot of work to do if they want to get to that point, but they could certainly still do it. BYU's ranked pretty high. I just don't see even an undefeated BYU getting in. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think Cincinnati's the best shot a non-Power 5 has. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame, I guess, is still in the mix potentially. They don't exactly have a very strong schedule at this point. So if they win out, maybe a 1-loss Notre Dame gets in, but that's not likely. Again, I kind of have to figure this out a little bit more in depth, to really flesh it out. Because, you have SMU and Coastal Carolina, neither of which have lost yet. Yeah. Both could very well likely finish the season without a loss. SMU probably won't. Coastal probably will, or a good chance they will, but they're obviously not getting in. So as I said, I just kind of wanted to visualize this to see what it was. As of right now, there's 130 teams in the FBS, and I have mathematically right now about 80 of them that are out, like totally out. But there's a few more in there that I'm looking at this now that I know like I can flat out just probably remove. But yeah, as in terms of front runners, I think there's probably about 10 to 11 teams at this point that are really in the mix for it. But there's still, several others that, if they were to win out, if let's see, if Texas beats Oklahoma this weekend and wins out, will a one-loss Texas team, that's the kind of scenario that I was kind of considering. It's not, who are the favorites to do it now. It's not who's likely to do it. It's who's still in the mix to do it. That's kind of the number that I wanted to just visualize. And realistically, I think there's still about 30 teams that are probably still have a shot, honestly. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if this is something we'll do on a weekly basis. I just kind of wanted to see what it looked like. And yeah. Do you think that any team outside of that 7 that I mentioned has a shot?
I think any Power 5 that goes undefeated could get in. So at this point,
well, none of them are. Kentucky's the only other Power 5 school that could go undefeated, or Michigan,
Wake Forest,
or I guess Michigan. Okay, I'm sorry, Michigan or Michigan State,
right?
Or Oklahoma State.
Wake Forest, yeah.
Wake Forest is also undefeated. You're right. I'm looking at this totally wrong. Yeah, so there's still several of them. So,
So I wouldn't eliminate any Power 5 that's still undefeated. That I'm including Cincinnati in that. I know they're not Power 5, but they're about the only group of 5 I think that could go undefeated and get in. But yeah, I think if you've got one loss, you cannot lose again. I don't think a 2-loss team will ever get in the college football playoff. Nope. I mean, it might have happened actually now that I think about it once, but I don't think a 2-loss team gets in. So
I looked into it I looked into it while I was doing the research on it. It was like, I think there was like one time maybe, or maybe they were even like in the mix for it. But yeah, it's not a very common thing. So
as the season wears on,
curious.
Like once we get down to like week 9, 10, we'll start like giving like the 10 schools that are likely or whatever. But yeah, for now there's a lot that are kind of still in the running. So let's get to the picks here. Last week we both had the same record, so no ground gain, no ground loss. We both went 11-4. We both went 6-2 in the Big Ten and 5-2 nationally. The only differing picks that we had, I got Oklahoma State over Baylor correct, and Logan got Wake Forest over Louisville correct. Which, did you see the issue with that game? The controversy with that game?
No.
Everyone down here is talking about it. Wake Forest had the ball with 4 seconds at the end of the second quarter. So going into halftime, they had the ball with 4 seconds. They ran a play, a run straight up the middle, and got a timeout with time still remaining on the clock. And they kicked a field goal to take the lead into halftime by 3, and they won by 3. Yeah. They ran a full play and got a timeout called in 4 seconds.
And how long?
4 seconds.
Yikes.
And that was the difference in the game. Yeah, people down here are livid over it, and they should be. So Logan continues his lead. He's 64-23 on the year. I'm 62-20. He's 64-23. I'm 62-25 on the season. So let's get into it. As we always do, we start with the Salukis. They are on the road. SIU is 4-1, number 7 in the FCS, going to, is it Brookings? I think it's Brookings.
That sounds right.
South Dakota State, undefeated, number 3 in the FCS, South Dakota State, 3:00 on ESPN+. SIU should have beat SDSU in the playoffs last year, but they had a touchdown. It was a touchdown, but they called him out at the 1, and SIU fumbled the very next play. That would have been the game winner, if you remember correctly, because I remember it vividly. Who you got, Dogs or Jackrabbits? Logan is pondering.
I'm going to go with my heart and take the Dogs. That's not the smart bet, The smart bet would be to take South Dakota State.
Yeah.
But Southern's good. Southern's good too. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to believe they can't pull it off. So I'm just going to go for the fun of it and just take Southern. If I didn't feel like they were as good, I obviously wouldn't pick them, but I think they're good enough to compete with South Dakota State. So I'll take Southern.
I'm a little worried about SIU because 2 weeks ago,
you should be.
The game I went to, they were down 17 to Illinois State, came back and won by 17. This week they were up 21-0 over Western Illinois, and the game went to overtime, tied at 24. And SIU scored, got the field goal. Western scored, went for 2, and missed it. So I'm a little concerned with SIU. I don't know what the issue is, but something's not right there. I'm going to go with the Jackrabbits as much as my heart, like Logan, wants SIU to win and think they can win. They just got to figure something out, and I don't know if they can do it on the road. So I'm going to go with the Jackrabbits. Friday night game in the Pac-12. Stanford coming off their upset against Oregon. At number 22, Arizona State coming off their upset at UCLA. This is a Friday night game, 10:30 Eastern on ESPN. Cardinal or Sun Devils?
I'm taking Arizona State. I think they are they're one of the better teams in the Pac-12 this year. Stanford looked good, able to they had a lead on Oregon, then lost their lead, and then ended up tying the game, sending it to overtime, and then won in overtime. But I'm going to take Arizona State.
Yep. Stanford's got a good freshman quarterback, I think, that's kind of led them on this little run here. But I think Arizona State has figured out their preseason expectations and are kind of righting the ship here. I'm going with Arizona State as well. The ACC slate is not very good. Pac-12 slate wasn't very good either. And this isn't even an ACC game. Technically, the only really other option for ACC game was Louisville and Virginia, and I didn't want to pick that. So we're going to stick with Notre Dame. I feel like we pick them every week, but they play a pretty good schedule. Notre Dame, number 14, 4-1 at Virginia Tech, who is 3-1. I think Virginia Tech's coming off a bye, like everyone does against Notre Dame. That's a 7:30 Saturday night game on ACC Network. Fighting Irish or the Hokies?
I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think they're going to bounce back after their loss to Cincinnati. I think they're going to be looking to get another win, and I think this will be a definitely one for them to do it. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a walk in the park. Notre Dame's got some quarterback issues they got to figure out.
That's what I was going to talk about.
I think they have about 3 quarterbacks that they're trying to work in, and I'm not sure Jack Cohen's the answer. And everybody up here seems to be pretty pissed off at how they kind of blew that one with the quarterback situation. So I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think they'll get it figured out at least for this week and get a win.
Yeah, that's what I was going to touch on was the quarterback issue. They brought Cohen in because they thought that he was going to be this grad transfer leadership role. Well, they've lost now and they can't lose again. So do you bring him in, or what's the other guy's name? I'm trying to find him. Drew Pine.
I don't remember. Yeah.
Drew Pine. He's a freshman, which someone pointed out. They have 2 quarterbacks named Pine and Cone. Pine Cone. I'm rocking with Notre Dame. I don't think they're all that good, but Virginia Tech I don't think is very good either. I'm not sure. It's tough to win in Blacksburg though. That's another thing. Enter Sandman and all that. They knocked off North Carolina earlier in the year, but I'm gonna rock with Notre Dame one more week. Now we get into the good stuff. This Saturday has some really good games, and it starts at noon on ABC. The Red River rivalry, I think. Did they have to do away with that game?
I have a question. I
thought they did away with that nickname. Go ahead.
No, I believe it's still a thing. We kind of touched on this last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm noticing now that this is now the 2nd week in a row. And maybe this is more of a regular thing than what I remember, because I'm probably not like the go-to person when it comes to college football knowledge.
I know what you're talking about.
haven't they always had their biggest ABC game at 7:30 kickoff? Is that not always the case? This is now the second week in a row that I believe they're going to be their A team is going to be at the noon kickoff. Are they just trying to go against Fox? Are they trying to not lose the noon time slot that badly? Like, it's just interesting to me. And again, maybe this has happened more often than I'm realizing, but I just always remember, like, for the most part, the 7:30 game was the big game. Sure. That was the game that Herb Street was at. Like, but now this will be the second week in a row, at least, I believe, that their A team, I think, is going to be doing the noon kickoff again.
Yeah, maybe they are trying to compete with Fox.
The 7:30 game is
Michigan at Nebraska.
Michigan at Nebraska, which, okay. I mean, sure, Michigan's good, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I was just curious. Like, I don't know why this is happening.
It might be the whole Fox thing, because Fox really pushed their best game to the noon window. So ABC's trying to do the same. I would think you would do the opposite, though. If they're taking over the noon slot, put yours at the 7:30 slot, so you both get the viewers. But yeah, I don't know. Oklahoma, Texas is the noon game on ABC. Number 6 versus number 21.
I would take Oklahoma. I don't know. Boomer sooner. I don't know that Oklahoma will end up being a playoff team.
Yeah.
I think they're certainly still in the conversation. And let's be honest, after Alabama and Georgia, I'm not really sure it matters. Mm-hmm. But I still think that they'll get past Texas. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what the rest of their schedule looks like. I mean, the Pac-12 has good football teams, but I'm sure there's a game in there that they could get, crossed up in. But yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma.
I am going to rock with Hook'em. Oklahoma is not playing very well. No. They were my preseason national champion pick, and they are not living up to it. And Texas, their loss was to Arkansas, who we've come to learn that's a quality loss. It's not a bad loss. Oklahoma is a 3-point favorite in this, but I'm going to rock with Hook'em. Sarkisian? Yeah, Steve Sarkisian. We'll see. Probably wrong, but I can just see Texas winning this one because Oklahoma has not been playing well as of late. And then a couple really good ones. There could have been 3 really good ones in the SEC this week, but Texas A&M has really taken a turn for the worse since their quarterback was out, because it's Alabama, Texas A&M this week. But there are 2 other good ones. We're going to start with previously mentioned Arkansas, number 13. They're 4-1. They got their doors blown off by Georgia last week. At Ole Miss, number 17, who got their doors blown off by Alabama last week. So one of them is going to bounce back. Mississippi is a 6.5-point favorite. It is in Oxford at noon on ESPN. Logan Lee, who's your pick?
I'm going to take Ole Miss. I think Arkansas is good. I think that, as you said, I think this is going to be a bounce back game for one of these 2 teams. So somebody's going to have to lose here. But for just some reason, my heart's telling me Ole Miss. So that's where I'm going to go.
I'm going to go there with you.
Oh, okay.
I liked Arkansas a couple of weeks ago, but now thinking back, I don't know how good they are. They did beat Texas, who I think is good, but then their other win was Texas A&M, which we thought was a really good win, but Texas A&M is not very good. They lost to Mississippi State last week, and then Arkansas lost 37-0 to Georgia. So I'm going to rock Ole Miss as well. Hotty toddy at home in Oxford. Arkansas probably will be unranked by the end of the year, if I had to guess. I think Ole Miss is pretty good. They were just playing Alabama last week. And then the other SEC game, number 2, Georgia, undefeated 5-0 at number 18, Auburn, who's 4-1. That's the CBS game, 3:30 on CBS. Auburn coming off, who did Auburn beat last week? I feel like they beat someone pretty big last week.
I don't remember.
Oh, LSU. They beat LSU at LSU by 5. They moved up to number 18. Any chance that they knock off number 2 at Jordan Hare?
No. Go Dogs.
14.5 is the line. Maybe we should pick this one against the line and not straight up, because I think Georgia also wins probably by like 17 or 20, honestly. So we're both on Georgia there. We got a couple differences, I think, don't we?
Yeah, probably. Or probably not.
Yeah, first 2. All right, moving on to the Big Ten. Only 5 Big Ten games this week. All of them, except for one, has a ranked team. We're going to start with the lowest of those ranked teams. Number 11, Michigan State, undefeated, 5-0, going to Rutgers, who is 3-2. Noon kick on Big Ten Network. Michigan State, 5-point favorites. Who you got in Piscataway?
Thought about taking the upset here.
Mm-hmm.
It crossed my mind, but I'm not going to do it. I think Michigan State will continue to roll and get their 6th win of the season.
Okay. I'm looking up something here real quick. Oh, no. Okay. I'm going to stick with you on this one. I'm going to take Michigan State. I want to take Rutgers, but I think they continue their streak for one more game. Michigan State does. Next week, look at the schedule. Teaser. Both on Michigan State. Maryland, 4-1, coming off a bloody loss at number 7, Ohio State, 4-1. Noon kick on Fox. Maryland or Ohio State. We have I bet Ohio State's probably 21-point favorite. Any chance Maryland comes back from their loss this week?
No. I think that that's all Ohio State.
Yep.
All Ohio State.
Okay. Same for me. Number 9, Michigan, back on the road, 5-0, facing one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten, Nebraska, 3-3. This is the night game we were talking about earlier, 7:30 on ABC. Michigan is a 3-point favorite. Are you going to do it, Logan? You want to? Anytime he giggles like that, I know he's thinking about it.
Are you going to? That's what I really want to know. Are you going to pick the upset here?
I thought about this week. Like, should we write our picks down and like show them to the camera and then we read them that way? That way that the pick we make is actually the pick we want to make.
That's something we could do.
On the count of 3.
You want to do that? Is this something you want to do?
Oh, are you writing it? I was just going to say it.
I was going to pull something up on my phone. Okay, on the count of 3, we're going to say it.
Yeah, let me think. I hadn't thought about it yet.
This is great television.
Okay. On the count of 3, say who's going to win this Michigan-Nebraska game. 1, 2, 3. Nebraska.
Michigan.
Okay. Here we go. Did you hear me say Nebraska?
I figured that was the upset you would take.
Yep. That's where I'm going. I'm going Nebraska. They're hot. Michigan, I thought they were legit, but I'm a little concerned about a couple things. I don't know what, but I'm going to go with the Cornhuskers.
Okay. I'm going to take Michigan.
Fair enough. And then the big one, the best game of the week in the country, Penn State at Iowa, number 4 at number 3, both undefeated, 5-0. I have written down a 4:00 kick on Fox. That seems wrong, but it's not. Iowa, 2-point favorite at home. Do they win in Kinnick, or does Penn State pull the upset on the road and take control of the Big Ten?
Do you remember last week what my logic was for picking Cincinnati over Notre Dame?
More to play for? Was it something like that?
Yes. Essentially, Cincinnati had more to play for.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is playing for all of the underdogs, all of the group of 5 schools.
Yeah.
This is the best shot that the group of 5 has had. to get to a playoff.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I picked Cincinnati. Now, this is not an apples to apples comparison for Iowa and Penn State. But as we previously touched on, Iowa, the rest of the way, doesn't have a big marquee game to add to their resume.
Yep.
This is the only one they have left.
Yep.
Penn State, on the other hand, the rest of the way, has games against Ohio State and Michigan State. All three are ranked in the top 11 right now.
Yep.
I'm going to take Iowa. It's at home, and this is their last shot before the Big Ten championship game to make a statement to the committee that's going to be voting on whether or not they play in the playoff in January.
Yep.
I'm taking the Hawkeyes.
Okay. Not a bad pick. I mean, they're the favorite. But
yeah,
I think Maryland handed in the game last week, so that score is a little deceiving.
Sure.
I think they're two big wins on the year. Iowa State, who is now unranked, and what was the other one? Indiana, the first game of the year, who is now unranked in 3-2. Those two teams are not very good. So I don't think Iowa is as good as the number 3 team in the country. So I think Penn State is going to win this by double digits.
Okay, let me just ask this question. I understand what you're saying, but how is it their fault if the teams they play aren't as good as what people thought they would be? Why is that supposed to be a negative thing against them? Now, I can understand if your argument is that they played those teams closer or whatever. I mean, I get that. I mean, they still blew out Maryland. You can say Maryland gave them the game, but they blew them out by almost 30 points. So, I mean, yes, I get it. I get that statement, but why is that a negative tick on Iowa?
Well, I think that they won those 2 games early and they shot into the top 5 because Iowa State was ranked in the top 10 and Indiana was a top 20 team. So they shot into the top 5.
So this is based more on their current ranking, is what you're getting at.
Yeah, I don't think they're the number 5 team in the country. I don't think
that's
fair. I think they're good. I think they're probably about where Michigan should, maybe like Michigan State, where they should be. I don't think Michigan State's the number 11 team in the country either. I think they're overranked.
That's fair. No, I think it's certainly possible that Penn State is the better team, and that would not shock me at all.
Yeah.
So I get that, and but I'll still take Iowa.
Okay. So we have 2 different picks, the last 2. And the final one, Wisconsin, 1-3 at Illinois, 2-4, sorry. 3:30 Eastern on Big Ten Network. Wisconsin, like we said earlier, is a 10-point favorite. Who you got?
Wisconsin. I'm not going to think about this too hard. Wisconsin needs to start getting some wins or their season is going to be looked at very negatively. They don't have a lot of them so far, but they've also played some pretty good teams. So this will be one of their first shots to really get a win and to build that momentum towards potentially trying to maybe take down Iowa towards the end of the season. But I'm going to take Wisconsin.
Yeah. I thought about this a lot more than I think I should have, because I do think Illinois could do it.
Don't overthink this.
I think they could. I really do. And
they could. Yeah.
Had we both had the same picks, the last 2 games, the Michigan, Nebraska game and Penn State, Iowa game, I probably would have picked Illinois here just to try and catch you and maybe have some differing here. But I'm going to go with Wisconsin. I'm going to make the smart decision. But I do think I would not be surprised if Illinois does win this game. Almost would rather Graham Mertz play than not, honestly. Although he did torch Illinois last year in the season opener. So there's our picks. We got 11 on the slate this week, which is, I think, the fewest we've had this season so far, just because there's getting to be some majority conference games here. So we'll get those tweeted out probably Friday afternoon, since there is a Friday night game on our schedule this week. Logan, are you ready?
Craig, for Celebrity Big Brother in February?
Well, that too.
Yes.
Men's basketball practice has begun. Listen to that laugh.
God. Thank God.
First practice of the year, I believe, was Friday. I should have remembered or written it down. I think it was Friday, sometime in the last couple of days. Practice has begun. Illinois had their media day on Friday, which media days are overrated. So we are, I believe, like 36, 37 days away from the start of the season, the first games. I don't have anything planned out for the conversation other than basketball practices have begun. So how are you feeling now that we are about a month away from games here?
I'm excited. I mean, love college basketball. Love college basketball even more when it's an Illinois team that's coming off the season they had last year, that's returning most everything outside of their, All-American point guard. But man, I'm pumped. Bring it on. Football season is not going to go the way anybody had hoped, which is fine. But let's get basketball season here. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah.
Have you thought any more about the question I proposed to you a few weeks ago, or are you still going to be not wanting to do that?
I still don't know. I haven't decided.
Okay, well, you let me know
about indoor events yet.
You're probably making the smart choice, but
I'm excited for this. Yeah, no, I feel you. I'm excited as well. Oh, crap. There's a lot of unknowns with this team still, I think. I was talking to friends at the wedding. I mean, you lost Io. Who's going to be your late game? Who's going to be your closer?
Sure.
What's the offense going to look like without Io at the point, like without the ball in his hands, and you have more of a complete team as opposed to an All-American who you just give the ball to and he goes and gets his, you know what I'm saying?
I hear those arguments and I think they are very valid, but I want to bring up something that I feel like I've talked about before. But I think it's worth bringing up again. People, yes, the focus is obviously around Kofi Cockburn, who is going to be, well, you would think he'd be unanimous first team All-American, but that's apparently not the case. And Andre Curbelo,
call him by name.
Freaking Goodman and Hummel. Oh my God. And others. I mean, it's not just them. It's not. Are we having this discussion? Listen, the Big Ten alone is full of All-American post players. You could fill up an All-American team, like the best 5 players in the country outside of Drew Timme are probably all 5 post players from the Big Ten.
Yep.
Let's just get that out of the way now. But I just kind of assumed that Kofi Cockburn would be like everybody's top 3 or 4 players coming back, but apparently that's not the case. Whatever, that's not the point. What I'm getting at is people keep talking about Kofi, which is understandable, and Curbelo, who had this emerging season. But what people forget to bring up and what people seem to be forgetting is that Illinois is also bringing back the player who carried this team as a freshman. Trent Frazier was a all Big Ten caliber player. I'm not saying that he's going to be Io DeSumo. I'm not saying that he is going to be the All-American guard that Io was. But I think we have to give him a little bit more credit than what people are. I mean, all the focus is on Kofi and Curbelo, and I get that. But, I mean, in terms of who's going to be your late game guy, I would say Trent. I mean, I think that he's going to be a 5th year, 6th year guard? He's going to have, I mean, as a freshman, he was the guy. I mean, it was his team, and he carried that team. Granted, they weren't very good, but but he's more than capable of doing it. He's taken a back seat the last few years because Io was on the court, but he can still light it up. He's still the best shooter on the team. I mean, again, I'm not going to say he's going to replace
I don't know about
Io.
that anymore.
Okay, sure. But I'm not going to say he's going to be the All-American. He's going to replace Io. He might not have to. I mean, if Curbelo emerges like people are saying he's going to, and if Kofi continues to play at an All-American level, if you just have that third guy who can just be that third guy, who can help, who can get you points and play lockdown defense, like, again, I'm not trying to replace anybody, but I think we need to give him a little bit more credit than what people seem to be. That's just my opinion.
My question with that is, yes, he did carry the team his freshman year. He was, like you said, he was the leader. He was the go-to guy. Is he still that guy? Because that's not what he's had to do for the last 3 years. He's turned into the defensive, I'm guarding the team's best player kind of guy. And it's tough to be that guy.
He doesn't need to be the guy, though. I'm not asking him to be the guy. The guy is Kofi Cockburn.
That goes back to my initial question of there's a lot of questions about this team because there is no longer a the guy. So you have to relearn how to be a team when there's not the guy and there are multiple guys. Am I making sense?
I mean, sort of, but I just don't feel like, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, I could make this comment and then it just totally blow up in my face, but I just, I don't see that necessarily being how this shakes out. I mean, I think it's going to be understood what role everybody has.
Yeah.
I think we know what Kofi is. Kofi is going to be an All-American caliber post player who's going to get you double doubles every single night. You're going to have Curbelo, who is an absolute facilitator. And then all you need at that point is guys that can, spread the floor and get you points. And no, I'm not saying that Trent has to be the guy. Like he doesn't. There are 2 preseason All-Americans playing on the court with him. So no, he doesn't need to be the guy. But when it comes down to who's going to take the shot at the end, I think he's your best shot.
I think it's Curbelo with the ball in his hands and making the right play. And that's likely going to be a dish to Trent at some point. My knock on Trent is I don't know. He can't create his own shot. So like I just said, in late game, if you need a bucket, it's not going to be like Io breaking someone down and hitting a floater in the lane like he did so many times. It's going to be Curbelo off of a Kofi ball screen, either taking it himself, lobbing it to Kofi, or dishing to Plummer or Trent somewhere around the wings. I just think this team's going to be a lot different than we watched last year. That's what I'm getting.
I think they're going to be different. I don't know that a lot different is the word, but I think they're definitely going to be different. But I think that there's enough returning on this team that they will have it figured out by the time conference season starts.
Oh, yeah.
I don't really see that being an issue.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, they're going to be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the conference.
Yep.
So yes, I get it. They are trying to replace one of the best 5 players in college basketball last season. And they don't have that player to do that. But I do think they have enough pieces that you can replace it to an extent. I mean, it's like the whole Moneyball thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to replace Johnny Damon, but like all you have to do is replace, X amount of points and whatever. I mean, I think that's doable. I don't think that you need to have an Io replicate in order to be a number 1 seed again. I don't think that's necessary. I think you already have, one of your biggest pieces back. If you just, work around what you do have back, I think it's certainly possible that they could be almost as good as they were last year.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something and then this popped in my head. At the wedding on Saturday, the groom who I went to high school with, big Illinois fan. So there was a lot of Illinois fans there. And I made a bet there that I bet someone else. They said that Illinois is going to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. I said they are not. I don't think this team's as good as last year.
But would you have said that they were a number one team before last season?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
could it happen?
Yeah,
it could totally happen, but I don't see it happen.
No, I wouldn't bet on that either. But I also I wouldn't bet on them not being able to figure it out.
Yeah. Yep.
And I feel like I've seen a lot of people that are super high on them, and I've also seen a lot that are not sure. And I understand the hesitation.
Yeah.
Because you did lose, as I said, one of the best players in college basketball last year.
Yeah.
But I do think they're returning enough that I think they can make it work.
Yep. We're still, I think, what did I say, 36 days, 35 days away, whatever it is. So in the coming weeks, we'll break down roster, schedule, the rest of the Big Ten. I haven't really laid out our plan quite yet, but we'll try and get to as much as possible. But we'll talk basketball on every episode from here until the end of March Madness, likely, or all summer like we did with this team this year. Anything else college related, basketball or football?
No, sir.
All right, we will move on.
Basketball season.
We're close. We're getting there. The most anticipated regular season NFL game in the history of football. Did it happen last night? I'm not sure that was last night. That's what everyone said, but was it really?
I watched Mean Girls. It was October 3rd. I hadn't watched it yet. So I watched like the first quarter of that game, but then I watched Mean Girls.
That is so on brand for Logan Lee. If you don't know Logan Lee, that's it right there.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, Craig.
Tom Brady returned to Gillette Stadium to take on Bill Belichick, the Patriots, welcoming the Buccaneers to town. There was so much hype to it, and I just never – it was cool. Like, yeah, okay, Brady's returning to Gillette, but I was just like, it's just another football game. If it would have happened last year, probably yes, I would have been stoked. But he's been at Tampa Bay for a year. He won a Super Bowl with them. I think it's obvious that the Patriots were built by Brady and not by Belichick. I think we saw that because of what happened last year. So it was just another Sunday night football game for me. And I mean, you watch Mean Girls. I fell asleep in the third quarter for 30 minutes. Like, it was whatever. And it wasn't a very good game. So I don't know. There was a lot of hype to it. It was cool to see. There were moments and videos and just kind of thinking back of Brady's time with the Patriots. I just hated him and the Patriots so much for the last 15 years that I think just kind of jaded to the whole situation. And that probably took a lot of the luster away from me, but it was just another football game to me.
I definitely watched until he broke Breeze's record.
Yeah.
Because I thought they would make a bigger deal about that.
Yeah.
Even being at Gillette than they did.
Yeah.
But it happened at a very
weird time.
Yeah, a very weird time. There was the discrepancy. Did it get to that? Did he get enough yards? Did he not get enough yards?
Yeah. The refs like respotted the ball after the play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very anticlimactic.
And they were in no huddle too. They were in hurry up offense when it happened too.
Yeah. So my fantasy night was done. I mean, I watched a little bit of it, but yeah, it wasn't really. It wasn't must see TV for me.
I told Christy this while we were sitting there watching early. It was the first half because she fell asleep halftime as well. And it's probably because he is currently on the Buccaneers, and I will think different in 20 years looking back on Tom Brady, but I associate Tampa Bay with him now. Like when people say Tom Brady, I think of Tampa Bay, not New England. And like I said, it's probably because that is his current team.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's just a better fit there. I don't know. It looks weird to see him in Patriot stuff now.
I don't know that I would say he was a better fit there, but
that's not what I meant. I meant that the second part that I said.
It just looks more natural now. I mean,
like I feel like
you're just used to it.
His persona has changed so much since he got he's in every commercial now. He's in Subway commercials. He's in this what's the one? It's not cryptocurrency. He's got his crypto commercial that he's everywhere. And before, I feel like you never really saw him.
Yeah.
And he's all over social media. He's got his social media team and he's putting out these own videos and graphics that he does. Like I have never, my opinion on someone has never changed so much and so quick as it did with one person, as when Tom Brady left New England for Tampa Bay. Like he was like he's not at the top. Stan Kroenke's at the top of my hate list, but he was way up there. I did not like Tom. I almost said Tampa Brady. I did not like Tom Brady, but now he's like one of my favorite players in the NFL, man.
Yeah. I mean, he's as you said, he's kind of changed. He's kind of a different personality at this point. I think
I'm sure we'd all change if we moved to Florida, though.
The Patriots dynasty was just such a hated thing. It was like the Yankees in the 90s. I mean, it's just, you know, you either were a fan of it or you hated it. There really wasn't a way around it. And now that he's with somebody else, it's, you know, everybody's kind of happy for him. He went somewhere and proved that he could do it elsewhere, and so be it. Let's just see how long he can keep this up. If he wants to play till he's 50, let him play till he's 50. Nobody else seems to care.
Yep. Cool to see, but we're moving on now. He has now beat every team in the NFL. He has. Yeah, I saw that. He has defeated every NFL franchise at least once now that he's beaten the Patriots, which that's kind of a cool stat. I was thinking this last night too, that I think, would you consider Jordan our generation?
He is, but I mean, I know you're a little bit older than me. I was pretty young. Yeah. I remember Space Jam probably more so than I do watching Bulls games. Yeah. I mean, the first dynasty that I really remember, from a basketball perspective, is the Lakers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's our generation, but we were both pretty young. Yeah. And neither of us lived in Chicago, so it's not like, you know, we both lived in the state of Illinois, but it wasn't like, you know, Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen were plastered everywhere we went. Yeah. But
that's why I kind of hate the whole best of our generation term, because everyone's generation is different. But I think Tom Brady is probably the greatest athlete of our generation. Don't you think?
Greatest athlete is
him or Kobe or Michael Phelps, probably, right?
Greatest athlete is a very strong wording, but most decorated would probably fit, and I would say yes. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. All
right, I just put a bow on it.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT.
I was thinking about it last night. And more local Bears or NFL stuff. The Bears, they purchased some new land in Chicago, the Arlington Racetrack. Yep. What do you think? Do you think it's going to happen? Are they going to leave Soldier Field?
I think they will.
I do too. I think it's done.
I don't think they want to, but the fact of the matter is that they're never going to have full control over Soldier Field. Yeah. And Soldier Field is a historic site. It's an historic landmark, but it is,
I think, it lost
a very
that
tight
status.
Space. Well, right. It's not technically a historic landmark because they did some renovations to it. But in terms of, it is the oldest standing football stadium. It's the smallest. I mean, there's just, as I said, I don't think they would mind staying, but they just can't do anything there. They can't improve it. They can't grow anywhere. Yeah. I saw this stat when I read this stuff, it blew my mind. Soldier Field, and I hope I get this right because I don't have it in front of me. I believe this is right. Let me look this up real quick. Soldier Field currently sits on a plot of land.
That's what I was looking up right now.
Did you know this? Okay.
Yeah. Look it up because I'm looking something else up.
Soldier Field sits on a plot of land at 7 acres. Yep. 7 acres. This plot of land that they are in the process of purchasing in the suburbs of Chicago is over 300 acres. Yep. Like just that blows my mind. So from a logistics standpoint, it just makes all the sense in the world for them to leave. Again, I don't think that at their heart, they really want to do it, but they don't really have a choice. They need a bigger stadium. They need to take advantage of the space. They would love to stay in downtown Chicago, but there's just no place for them to go.
Yeah.
And the lakefront is a beautiful property, but that's obviously one direction they can't move. They can't move towards the lake, and there's no space. They're blocked in there by museums and everything else. So, I mean, I think it makes all the sense in the world. And yes, I do think they will leave. I think they will build a brand new, humongous stadium complex like they've done outside of Los Angeles and like they've done outside Boston. That's just the route we're headed. And, they may not be the only, other teams may join them eventually. I don't think anybody else in Chicago is really in a position to leave at this point, but I just think from the Bears perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. Now, it's unfortunate. I don't know necessarily what happens to Soldier Field. I know they'll have fire or soccer, they'll have the fire. I'm sure they'll get, college games and stuff. And they'll have concerts and all that, but it's only 8 to 10 days a year, but still that's, 8 to 10 days a year is more than not. So, but yeah, I think it's inevitable. And this could be a negotiation tactic. And if they somehow get things to change in terms of the city of Chicago and letting them have more capabilities, but I just don't see what they would be able to provide at this point.
I'm with you. I think it's a done deal. Well, maybe not a done deal, but I think it's a done deal. I think it is happening. I don't think you do this unless you plan on moving out there. And this has been talked about for a while, and we went back to visit Christy's family in Chicago, which of course they're all Bears fans, and they were all like, there's no way. No, can't happen. And everyone in Chicago is like, oh, are they going to change the name to the Arlington Heights Bears? I'm like,
no,
come on, get realistic here. Like, the New York Jets play in New Jersey, New York Giants play in, that's not how this works. You were looking up the acreage of the racetrack. I looked up
326 acres.
Okay. I looked up the
326. Acreage. Soldier Field is 7.
I looked up the acreage of the Rams' new stadium, which is also on an old racetrack plot of land, also more than 300 acres of land. So what's going to happen is exactly what they're doing in California. They're building a stadium. They're building entertainment. They're building more than a football stadium.
This is the exact same thing that happened with Atlanta, with the Braves. It's a different sport, but it's the exact same thing that happened with the Braves. The Braves were playing in an old Turner Field was built for the Olympics. Yes. And they just didn't have any room to grow there, to expand anything. So they built a brand new facility complex outside of the town. Baseball's different because it has a lot more event days than what football does.
Yes.
But that's the model they're going after.
Yeah. And Soldier Field's not drawing a Super Bowl. They're never getting a Super Bowl. If you build this,
nope. They could now.
They could. You would obviously have to have a retractable or a permanent roof. I don't think it'll be permanent. I would think that they would go retractable because Chicago's pretty nice up until now, till October or whatever. So build a retractable roof, entertainment all over the place. How can you say no to that? How can the city, even though they're leaving the city, how can you say no to drawing a Super Bowl to your city every 5 or 6 years? You can't do it. I think it's done deal. I think it's happening. And I told Christy when they bought the land, I said, let's go buy property in Arlington Heights right now, because the value of that property is about to skyrocket in the next 5 years.
It'll put Chicago in the conversation for Final Fours too.
Final Fours. Yes.
Which they haven't been able to do because they don't have a facility big enough to do that. So
I just, with any city, if you have the opportunity to build one of these state-of-the-art stadiums, and in this case, not only a stadium, an entertainment district like in LA, you can't say no to it. Yep. And the only other point that I wanted to bring up with this was the people complaining about the distance It's like 45 minutes. So I tracked it. Actually, NBC Chicago did as well, but I did my own research before I saw their article. From Soldier Field to where the new stadium would be, Arlington Heights, a 40-minute drive, 31.4 miles. That's a pretty big distance there. The 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers, play in Santa Clara. That's 42.7 miles away from San Francisco. The Redskins also don't play in DC. They play in Landover, 30 minutes away, 11 miles. The Patriots are smack dab in the middle of nowhere. They're not in Boston. They're not in Providence. They're like right in the middle. They're 28 miles from Boston, 25 miles from Providence, but they're also not the Boston Patriots. They're the New England Patriots. So that's kind of different. The Giants and Jets, like I mentioned, different state, about 10 miles, 25 minutes away. Cardinals are 17 miles away, 20 minutes away from downtown Phoenix. They play in Glendale. And then they threw the Cowboys in there, who are 19 miles from Dallas and 22-minute drive away. So it's not that uncommon that your stadium isn't necessarily in the district or the area of your team's namesake. So get over it, Bears fans. This is happening, and it's a good thing for you. Get over the nostalgia aspect. That's all I wanted to say, because
Amen.
I just can't wait to see it, because I think it's going to be Rams-esque. Pretty awesome. Yeah. I think it's going to be really cool. Really cool.
I agree.
All right, let's move on, because we are going really a lot longer than I thought we were going to. The MLB postseason starts tonight, because this will come out Tuesday. It starts tonight with the AL wildcard game. Man, I wanted there to be a lot more chaos than there was. The AL could have been very chaotic with 4 teams playing for 2 spots. But in the end, the Yankees and the Red Sox both won on Sunday, which clinched their spot in the wild card. So there is the Rays won the East, White Sox won the Central, Astros won the West, and then Yankees and Red Sox in the NL. This has been set for like a week. Braves ended up winning the East, Brewers the Central, Giants won the West, and then Cardinals, Dodgers, and then Cardinals won in the NL. So Logan, today I went back to our season preview episode to see how we did. I just gave you the AL winners. Here was Logan's AL predictions preseason. Blue Jays in the East, White Sox in the Central, Astros in the West, Yankees in the wild card, Angels in the wild card. So you got 3. You got 3 of the 5 correct. I had Yankees winning the East, White Sox Central, Astros West, Blue Jays wild card, and Twins wild card. So I got 3 technically in, but I had Yankees winning the division, not getting a wild card. So you technically got more right than me, but we had the same amount of teams. We both had the exact same in the NL. Do you remember that? We both had Braves.
We picked the exact same thing.
Exact same thing.
Okay.
We both had Braves, East, Central was the Cardinals, West was the Dodgers, and then the wild card was the Mets and the Padres. Your quote when you were picking the Central, I thought about the Brewers over the Cardinals, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
You should have.
Yeah. Shut up.
Our wild card or our World Series, I'm have
not sure
Dodgers.
Why I picked the Cardinals. Was I just on this high that they got Nolan Arenado? So
I would assume, yeah. Your World Series, Dodgers over Yankees, still in play. That could still happen. My World Series was Padres over Blue Jays.
That ain't happening.
The only other thing we picked, we did do over-unders for the 3 quote-unquote local teams that we care about. The Cubs over-under was set at 78.5. Do you remember what you picked?
Over, probably.
We both picked the over, and they won 71 games. The Cardinals over-under was 86.5. Do you remember what we picked?
I probably picked over if I picked them to win the division.
We both picked the under. Your exact quote from that episode. I don't think the winner of that division hits 85.
How many did the Brewers get this year?
I didn't look. I think they had to have won 95 or 96. I said, I'll take the under. So if they go over, I'll be happy either way. So I'm happy. And then the White Sox over-under was 90.5. You took the under. I took the over. They won 93. So that was our preseason predictions. Not very good.
Yeah.
Not very good. Did you look up the Dodgers?
I looked up the Brewers.
Brewers, that's what I meant.
Yeah, they finished 95 wins. What was my quote? Nobody would hit 85 in the division?
I don't think the winner of that division hits 85. You said there would be
85 in that division.
You said there would be 4 teams between 80 and 86, I think is what you ended up saying.
Did I say the Central? I meant the East. That's the division. Because only one of those teams that hit 85 and barely hit 85.
So, I don't know that we want to do too much dissecting of it. I mean, yeah, the Cardinals and Dodgers play Wednesday. Scherzer versus Wainwright. Scherzer's probably going to throw 8 scoreless. Knock the Cardinals out. But one of my buddies did make a good point. As Cardinal fans here. Initially, I was like, oh my God, please Dodgers win the division. Give me the Giants. Give me the Giants in the wild card because we can't beat the Dodgers. But he made a good point that I would rather face the Giants in a series than the Dodgers. So I like how it played out because if you just get by the Dodgers in this one game, I like our chances so much better against the Giants in 5 games than I do the Dodgers in 5 games.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
I mean, I'm nervous. My heart is racing just thinking about it. I don't think it
matters
honestly.
Either way.
I don't either, but
I don't think it matters either way.
Scherzer's last 2 starts, 10 innings, 11 earned runs. So he's not pitching too well, but also that means he's due. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel. Tuesday night, Yankees, Red Sox. Wednesday night will be Cardinals, Dodgers in LA. And I'm assuming the ALDSs start on Thursday then, right? I haven't looked at the schedule.
The schedule I just saw got sent up. The ALDS will start on Thursday, yes.
And then the NLDS will start on Friday.
Correct.
All right, so let's go through the bracket here. Who do you have winning the AL wildcard game?
I know I picked the Yankees to win it all, I think, or to win the AL at least. I'm going to pick the Red Sox.
Garrett Cole versus Nathan Eovaldi. It is
the Red Sox.
It is in Fenway, so Red Sox are the home team. Okay, I'm going to take the Yankees. I know the Red Sox are in the playoffs, but I just don't see. They kind of surprised me. I don't think they're that good. What about the NL? Are you rocking with the Dodgers?
Dodgers,
yeah. I'm rocking Dodgers as well. I am too. It's Wainwright. Exactly. It is Wainwright versus Scherzer at 8:10 Eastern on Wednesday. I think it's TBS. Is NL TBS? I believe it is.
The NL wildcard game is TBS. Yes.
TBS. Okay. So let's go back to the AL. You got the Red Sox and the Rays.
Tampa
Bay. And how many? Just for fun.
Is that a 5-game series?
5, yeah.
I'll say 4.
4, okay. White Sox and Astros. Astros have the home field.
White Sox in 4.
Okay. Do you want to go all of them, or do you want me to get my AL now? What's best? I'll get mine. I'm going to go Rays as well, but I'm going to go 5. I think the Yankees put up a fight. I'm going to go Rays in 5. And I'm going to go White Sox in 5 as well. I think these are 4 really good AL teams. I think they're both going to go the distance. So you have Giants and Dodgers. Giants with the home field.
Dodgers in 5.
Dodgers in 5. Brewers home field with the Braves.
Braves in 4.
Braves in 4. Okay. I'm going to go Dodgers as well, but I'm going to go in. I almost want to pick a sweep, but I'll go 4. It's tough to sweep. I'll go Dodgers in 4. Is that what you picked? 5. Okay. And I'm going to go Brewers in 5. I think the Brewers take down the Braves. I love the Brewers. I like the Brewers pitching, although they did lose Devin Williams because he punched a freaking wall. What an idiot. Rays or White Sox?
White Sox.
Ooh, okay.
I think the White Sox. I mean, the Rays are good. Don't get me wrong.
This is a 7-game series.
I want to see the White Sox do it.
Okay.
I think they are more than capable. I do love the Rays, but the Rays have had their time here recently. I want to see the White Sox. I'm going to take the White Sox in 6.
6. Okay. I'm taking the Rays. I'm going to take in 7. I think every series in the AL goes the distance. I'm going to take the Rays in 7. So you got Dodgers and Braves?
Dodgers in 5.
Dodgers in 5. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. But I'm going Brewers in 7.
Really?
Yep.
You're nuts. Okay.
Bye. Dodgers in the playoffs, man.
After he just single-handedly destroyed my fantasy team, watch Cody Bellinger just absolutely go on a tear.
Is he? I thought he was hurt. Did he come
Justin
back?
Turner or Max Muncy got hurt the other day. Is
That's
Bellinger
true.
hurt again?
They got Pujols though. I don't know. So I've got Rays, Brewers in the World Series. You've got White Sox, Dodgers in the World Series. You have the series that the MLB wants, Chicago versus LA. I've got Tampa Bay versus Milwaukee, which no one wants. Who you taking? Are you taking the Dodgers?
Dodgers in 7.
Dodgers in 7. I'm going to take the Rays in 6. I'm riding the Rays train. They're going to win the World Series, and then they're going to get the hell out of Dodge and leave Tampa Bay.
Go to Montreal.
I hope not. Nashville. Someone needs to go to Nashville. Someone needs to go to Vegas. So there's our brackets. They'll probably be as wrong as our preseason predictions. Anything else sports related, Logan Lee?
Oh, probably, but I don't know what it would be.
I know. We need to start doing like.
I did have something else I was going to ask you, but I don't remember what it was.
We need to start doing
way over on time.
More episodes a week because we're way over. Rough movie week for you. Want to go in on it?
Man, I was so excited about getting into October and like finally start watching good movies, and it's been a lot of garbage. I did watch one last week that I do recommend. It's called Coda. I
think I've seen that somewhere.
It's on Apple TV. It's on Apple TV Plus. So you have to have a subscription to Apple TV Plus. But basically, it's a story of CODA, which stands for Child of Deaf Adults. So story of a girl who is the only hearing person in her family of her parents and her brother who are all deaf. And she's a high school girl and she wants to sing. And so it's kind of one of those, up and down, feel good, coming of age type of movies. It was just a lot of fun. It was just a good movie. It's probably not going to win any awards come at the end of the year, but I think it'll be in conversations. So it's definitely one of the best movies I've seen so far this year. Other than that, it's been a lot of trash. I saw Venom on Thursday.
I saw your tweet.
The first Venom. Did you see the first Venom? Venom movie? Okay. No. So the first Venom movie is not very good, but it's at least a lot of fun. It's just a fun time at the movies. It's self-aware. Tom Hardy's great. This movie, it not only was it bad, it just wasn't nearly as fun as the first one. I don't know. It didn't really hit on anything. So that was kind of a letdown. There's a couple movies that dropped on Netflix the past few days that I watched as well. One of them, The Guilty with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is basically a one-man show for the most part. He plays the role of a 911 dispatch guy. It takes place over the course of just one night as he's like basically this one lady calls in getting abducted, and then it just kind of, goes on from there. He was great in it. The movie itself just kind of lacks some story and has some issues. And then The Starling, which I knew nothing about, starring Melissa McCarthy, Chris O'Dowd, and Kevin Kline, also dropped on Netflix. It's kind of interesting. And I say that as I raise my voice a little bit. It's certainly something to watch. But it was just a kind of I don't know. I was just hoping that, as I talked about, once October got here, that things would just change for me. And it really hasn't yet. But James Bond this weekend, so pretty excited about that. So
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. I think I'm up to like 30 on the year. So got a lot to get to.
I full disclosure here. First, I should have said this earlier. I've never seen Mean Girls. Second.
Seriously?
Yeah. Second.
What?
Jaw drop.
Really? Like,
No,
this is a legitimate thing.
Jaw drop again. I'm not as positive on this one, but I don't think I've ever seen a James Bond movie. So the other day, I saw an ad for.
I don't know which of those I'm more bothered by.
I saw a trailer for. Is it No Time to Die? Is that the title? I saw it and I was like, I should watch some James Bond. I'm gonna go see if they're streaming anywhere. Only one James Bond movie is streaming anywhere.
Yeah, they're not easy to get.
I think it's Skyfall on Hulu. So I turned it on.
Skyfall's great.
I turned it on. Didn't watch much because it was my nap time. So I took a nap. But I need to find a way to watch James Bond movies because I think I would like them. But they're
hard to find.
I would start with like Pierce Brosnan. I don't want to watch the old ones. Those have no interest to me. I would start with like the ones that I was alive for. But yeah, I haven't seen. You
seriously haven't seen Mean Girls?
I don't think so.
This is a serious thing?
Yeah.
Were you just living under a rock in the 2000s or like
ever? I was never a big movie guy.
Still, you never saw Mean Girls. Wow. Okay. You need to watch that before you watch any James Bond movie. Seriously. That's like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to think about. I don't even know what to think right now.
I know how do we transition
my mind
from that? Yeah, we'll just move on. Big Brother finale. It is over. It's in the books. Are you going to be able to continue or do we need to end the show? Xavier is your Big Brother 23 winner.
Thank God.
Goodness. Oh my gosh. What a disaster the last couple of weeks were. Derek F kind of almost lost it for himself. I think he kind of lost his marbles there for a little bit. It's been so long. It was Wednesday night. I kind of forgot what happened. But the main thing is Xavier wins, unanimous vote, as it should have been. He won the final HOH 7-6 or 8-7 over Azza. They all got every single one right, except Azza missed the very first one. And then they ran the board, which she said afterwards that she knew she just picked up the wrong tile or something. So that would have been interesting for them to go to a tie and see how that would have shaken out. But Azza had said she would have taken Xavier anyways. So Xavier would have won no matter what. Derek F comes in second, and Tiffany is America's favorite house guest. Like I said, it's so long ago. I can't remember anything jaw-dropping that happened. So what'd you think here 5 days after the finale?
No, it wasn't very surprising. It was very, very underwhelming finale. Yeah, I'm just glad that, nothing against Derek or Azza. I think they both played, a strong enough game in their own respects to get to that point. But I'm just glad that somebody that I felt really deserved to be there won the game. You don't always see that. There's often times where, the most deserving players are sent out early or, but rare. I think most of the time when they get to the final two, most of the time that person wins. Happy for Tiffany. That wasn't really a shock to me. Just going off of Big Brother Twitter, she was very much, her and Derek X were very much the two people that most people were talking about. So that, I was fine with that. I felt like other than Xavier, she was the person most deserving to win, I think. So I'm glad that they both walked away with cash. I did listen to a few interviews post game. Derek F in particular, I thought was interesting. He was on with the Hitmen with Cody and Derek Levasseur. Their podcast, they interviewed, Tiffany and Xavier and Derek Azza. I just thought Derek, he kind of made some good points. And there's this whole debate across the internet as to who actually started the cookout.
Yeah.
There's people that think it was Tiffany. There's people that, whatever. And Derek claims it's him. I think they all make good points. I think Derek F was the one to kind of get the whole thing started.
Yeah.
Kind of started the conversation with people. And then Xavier was the one to give it a name. And Tiffany was the one that came up with the master plan, as they called it, which will, be forever used in Big Brother every single season. Some alliance will develop and ultimately fail because they just didn't want to work together. But she was the one that came up with that. So I think they were all right to an extent. I think Derek F does have an inflated ego a little bit, or at least a view of how he played the game. But he did say some good things. I honestly didn't write him down or anything, but he did make a few good points, I think, towards his game that I kind of did respect, but he also wasn't expecting to win. And he said that as soon as they sent Ozza out, he said, just give me my second place. Like he was fine with that. So I was happy for him, happy for Xavier that he won. Obviously, I'm in 2 different fantasy Big Brother things. I picked Xavier in both of mine.
Nice.
Like early, like my first, like one of the first few picks, and I picked him in both of them. So I was high on him from the very beginning, and glad that he came out on top.
One of the questions to the final 2 from the jury was to Derek about, was he really there for the game, or was he there for fame and money? Which I can see both sides. He said he was there for his mom, which I respect, and $75,000 is a lot. They can do a lot of things. There was something else I was going. What was the last thing you just said?
I said,
oh my God.
He said that he just wanted was fine with second place. And
oh my God, there was something. I had a good point and I can't remember what it was. Oh my God. I'm so mad at myself. I'm so mad at myself right now.
I don't know
what it was. But yeah, Kylan said too, I thought it was interesting on his exit that he's like, I hope this isn't my last time in this house. Like, do you think, I don't think he's coming back.
I don't think he will.
I don't think they'll bring him back. There's no way. There's no way.
Not
Man,
after
I'm mad at myself.
Not after how he exited.
No. Yeah. So Celebrity Big Brother starts in the winter, they said, January or February.
Are you a celebrity?
Julie said.
Do you, because you have a check mark, does that mean you're eligible for the show?
It could.
Okay, move
on. Could mean that. Yeah, I think Julie said it starts, and I should have asked you this a couple weeks ago. So a lot of times I rarely watch episodes live. I watch the finale live, but during the season, I watch them the next day on DVR or Paramount Plus. I went back and rewatched one episode on Paramount Plus. It was an eviction night. It had to have been a Thursday because Julie was there, and Julie's mic wasn't on. Did that happen? Did you run into that ever? Was there ever an episode that Julie did not have a mic on?
Like you couldn't hear her, or
could not
you just
hear her.
Didn't see the mic.
I mean, you could hear her, but it was obvious she did not have a mic on. It sounded like she was just standing in a studio, like it was getting it from like a nap mic or something. So that wasn't on the broadcast. Okay, that had to have been a Paramount Plus thing then. Man, I had something I really wanted to say, and then we started talking about something else. All right, well, Big Brother's over. Now Logan's going to be forced to watch Survivor or The Masked Singer with me. Again, Survivor's on Wednesday, so I kind of forget what happens. Xander, who has an extra vote already from week 1, found an advantage, and this is one of the new twists this year. So he found his advantage, but for his advantage to work and turn into an immunity idol, someone on each of the other tribes has to find that same advantage on their beach for his to get activated. And for him to know that it's activated, he has to say a certain phrase at the immunity challenge. And then that person who had found it has a phrase they have to say. And then the third person has a phrase. So once they all three say it at the challenge, then he knows that it's activated. But until that happens, he can't vote at all. So that was one of the risks. He picked it up and he read the instructions. And at the bottom, it says, either keep this and lose your vote, or put this back and let someone else find it and keep your vote. So he picked it up, he took it, and he immediately told two of his tribe mates, who one was Voce, who was working with him. The other was Evie, who he thinks is working with him, but is actually working with the girls on that tribe. So he goes to the immunity challenge, and his phrase was something like, I started thinking butterflies are the ghosts or the spirits of our dead ancestors. And he says that, and everyone else at the challenge is like, what is this guy talking about? And no one responds to him. So he loses his vote. So now there's only 4 votes there on that tribe. That tribe loses the challenge. So they go to tribal council. So there's only 4 votes. The talk all day was he was going to be voted out, but Tiffany, who the guys wanted to vote out and who lost them the challenge, got paranoid that he actually had the advantage. So she said they should vote for Voce. That way Xander thinks he's going home. He plays his advantage, but it doesn't matter because they voted for someone else. So the girls do end up voting for Voce. He goes home. Xander is still in the game with 2 advantages now. But he's kind of by himself. So that's where we're at. Xander's in a tough spot, but I still like him. Not a whole lot to break down other than that. It was more of a normal episode. A lot of the same people I think could win. Shan, Evie played really good this week. Sydney has a lot of opportunity. Not much from anybody else this week. It was kind of focused on that Xander immunity idol advantage storyline this week. So that's where that is. The Masked Singer, we had 5 new people. Week 2, they sent, I think I said who it was. Yeah, I talked about it last week. Vivica A. Fox, Dwight Howard, and Tony Braxton were all sent home. Did we talk about that? Yeah,
we did. Yeah, you mentioned that.
So 5 new ones this week: the Queen of Hearts, the Mallard, Cupcake, Dalmatian, and Banana Split. I have some guesses for 4 of them. One that I don't know. Mallard, I don't know who it is. I don't have a good guess, but I get the vibe that it's like an older Southern guy because he's got a little bit of a draw. You can tell it's kind of an older voice, but I don't have a name quite yet. We kind of think the Queen of Hearts is Britney Spears. She's got a little bit of a twang in her voice, but it's one of those that I don't think Britney Spears would do this show. So I don't think it's her, but after 1 week, it's kind of lining up with her. The Cupcake, we guess him every week or every season. We guess RuPaul, and it's never is. But again, kind of sounds like him, kind of moves like him. But the Cupcake, we're not sure if it's male or female. They guessed female names, but we kind of think it's a male voice. Banana Split is 2 people. It's a banana and then ice cream. So it's a couple. My guess was Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. This week, the banana is the male, was playing the piano, and the ice cream was singing. So I think Faith was singing. I don't know if Tim McGraw can play the piano, though. So there was a lot of other good guesses. Someone said Catherine McPhee and her husband or someone. I don't remember his name, but thought that was a good guess. But the Dalmatian went home. And I was pretty positive after the judges' guests. One of them said Reggie Bush. And I said, yes, that is Reggie Bush, because the whole clue package was sports related and working out. And he was bouncing 2 like big workout balloons, and they were like dark red and yellow, like USC colors. And USC, there was other like black and gold, which is the Saints. I think it was Ken actually that made the judgment. And I was like, yes, that is him for sure. It wasn't. It was Tyga, the rapper. Tyga. Yeah.
That's very misleading. So it wasn't an athlete at all.
Wasn't an athlete at all. I got athlete vibes, but it was not an athlete. So yeah, those are the 5
I'm sorry for your loss.
I haven't got any right this year. Normally I have 1 or 2 of the early ones because they're so easy to to distinguish their voices.
Who are you most confident in that you're right?
Probably Banana Split, Tony Braxton, or Tim McGraw and Faith Hill.
Okay.
I was very confident in Tiffany Haddish, and it was not her. So,
all right.
I need, if I get one more week with the duck, the mallard, I think I might be able to nail that one because he's not a very good singer. He's kind of one of those that kind of speaks when he sings. So if I hear something in his voice, I might get it, but we'll see. This show's so fun. I could talk about it, like talk about guesses and rewatch them. I can't catch the clues. The clues go so fast, and there's like clues that I don't even see, and I'm not like into the tabloids. So yeah, it's just fun. Something to do during the week, but we'll see. All right. We've been going like for like 2 hours, I think. What's our timer on here? 2 hours and 23 minutes. 2 hours. Sorry for all you listening for 2 hours, but there are chapters in the descriptions. So Logan, do you have anything else before I end this immediately?
Yeah. Watch Mean Girls. It's on Paramount Plus.
I sent you a picture the other night. I'm getting closer and closer to Ted Lasso, to being caught up on Ted Lasso.
Oh, that's a great show. Oh my God. So I love that show. I'm so happy you're at least watching that. That's good. So you did finally get access to Apple TV Plus then.
Yeah. I guess we got it for my parents.
You get it with your Verizon?
No, we got Apple TV for my parents a couple Christmases ago, and we have a family share plan. So I'm assuming when they signed up with their Apple account, it gave it to all of us. Probably. And I mean, they've had it for 2 years, and I've never even tried. So yeah, we've got it now. I'm enjoying it so much. I changed my fantasy football team names to AFC Richmond this week, and I went 0-2. I lost in both of them. I'm gonna get relegated.
How far are you? Are you in season 2?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think that Christmas episode was episode 2 or
love the Christmas episode.
3 or 4 of season 2.
Oh, that's so great.
So that's where I'm
Watch
at there.
Mean Girls, you fool.
We'll get to it. Long episode.
Does Christy know this?
Probably not. I don't know. We're gonna watch Hocus Pocus here really soon. We're getting into Halloween
Hocus
movies.
Pocus?
Oh yeah. All right, long episode. We're getting out of here. Thanks for listening.
I'm gonna message her right now.
Listen, share, subscribe, all that stuff. We'll see you next week.
82 days till Christmas. Bye.